6 a.m. in Israel. A squadron of fighter jets lifts off into the early morning sky, loaded with high-precision, long-range missiles. The target is roughly 1,000 miles away, a highly secure government compound located in central Tehran, the capital of Iran. According to American and Israeli intelligence, a significant portion of Iran's leadership is gathered inside, including the country's Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. 2 hours and 5 minutes after those jets left the runway, the missiles hit their mark. The decades-old standoff between these nations is now an active, high-intensity conflict. The roots of this hostility reach back to 1979. That year, an Iranian revolution overthrew the US-backed monarchy to establish an Islamic republic led by Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Since then, the US and its ally Israel have been viewed by the regime as sworn ideological enemies. Relations briefly stabilized in 2015 when the Obama administration signed a nuclear deal to limit Iran's uranium enrichment. However, the Trump administration withdrew from that agreement in 2018, leading to a period of renewed sanctions and heightening regional friction. By 2025, Iran was facing an internal breaking point. The national currency crashed and food prices soared, sparking mass demonstrations across the country. The regime responded with a total internet blackout and a crackdown that left thousands dead and 50,000 more in prison. Amidst this domestic chaos, the CIA achieved a breakthrough. By tracking the Supreme Leader for months, they successfully mapped his physical movements and private communication patterns, eventually confirming his presence at the Tehran compound. This rare intelligence, combined with Iran's internal instability, created a specific tactical opportunity. The US and Israel decided to act on this window, launching a decapitation strike against the regime's core leadership. The attack was originally set for nighttime, but planners moved the timeline forward when they confirmed top Iranian officials were meeting during the day. The risk of the target moving was deemed too high to wait for darkness. At 9:40 a.m. local time, the missiles struck. In just 30 seconds, the Supreme Leader and 30 senior military commanders, including the defense minister and the chief of staff of the armed forces, were killed. As the leadership was eliminated, a massive secondary operation began. Israel deployed roughly 200 fighter jets to destroy air defenses around Tehran, while US warships fired Tomahawk cruise missiles at military targets across eastern Iran. The scale of the bombardment resulted in heavy collateral damage. One strike near a naval base hit an elementary girls' school, where state media reported that at least 175 people, mostly children, were killed. While the surgical objective of the operation was met, the sheer magnitude of the secondary strikes made a conventional, wide-scale war unavoidable. Iran's military response, Operation True Promise 4, began immediately. Over 200 ballistic missiles were launched directly toward Israeli territory. The retaliation spread within minutes. Strikes hit US and allied facilities in Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Jordan. This instantly disrupted the global economy. A drone strike shut down Dubai's airport, and Houthi forces resumed attacks on Red Sea shipping lanes, ending a ceasefire. Despite the loss of the Supreme Leader, the Iranian government did not collapse. Surviving President Masoud Pezeshkian formed a provisional government and vowed that the regime's military strikes would continue. This rapid, multi-nation response demonstrates the reality of modern regional warfare. Because of deeply interconnected proxy alliances, it is impossible to strike one target without triggering a conflict that spans the entire Middle East. The violence quickly forced a global military reaction. NATO placed its missile defense systems in Europe on high alert, and early warning radars in Turkey were activated to monitor the expanding theater of war. The impact on the energy market was immediate. As the Strait of Hormuz was closed, global oil prices began a sharp vertical climb, threatening a worldwide energy crisis. Beyond the conventional battlefield, security agencies warned of a non-conventional threat, the potential activation of Iranian sleeper cells to strike targets within North America and Europe. An assassination intended to be surgical had in a matter of hours reached across continents to threaten Western cities and dismantle the global energy market. These consequences have sparked a debate over international law. Critics are now questioning whether this was a legally justified war of necessity or an illegal war of choice. US intelligence reports complicate the imminent threat argument. Analysts admitted Iran was still years away from a nuclear weapon, and its missiles lacked the range to reach the United States mainland, limiting their direct threat to regional targets. Domestic law is also under scrutiny. In the United States, the executive branch initiated this high-intensity conflict without seeking or receiving the constitutionally required approval from Congress. The operation reflects the logic of a preventive war, using a window of severe domestic instability to remove a persistent rival. In the modern world, the attempt to preemptively strike a future threat often becomes the catalyst for the very global war it was meant to prevent.